We're back with part 2 of this week's Melbourne Pro Punters panel. We've got a few more bits and bobs to discuss. We'll just crack on with the week ahead. There's Sandown tomorrow. You've got a set for their pods?
Yeah, no, we're doing something there.
Bendigo Thursday. Wodonga Cup Day on Friday.
Black shorts, mate.
And Cranbourne. And then we go to Yarra Valley and Moonee Valley. I'm off to Yarra Valley on Saturday, Moonee Valley on Saturday. And then I'm off to Tarralgon Cup Day on Sunday.
Tarralgon and Swan Hill.
And Swan Hill, so it's a good week ahead. So make sure you head to one to follow. And
good to see you excited again, Chappie. Like you were happy about the dogs last week.
Yeah, I went to, as I mentioned last week, I went and worked at Sandown Park with Mickey Harrick on Friday night.
Oh, great.
Managed to hold 20,000 there and just find bad result after bad result. So
20,000?
Yeah.
Held 20,000?
In cash off the ground. So
one.
Yeah,
Friday.
Wages, placings were no good. So it was really busy there. There was a good crowd. Greg Miller's done a. Like, that was the first time in ages that I've been out there, and he's completely refurbished the joint out there. It's a really good spot.
So he's done a better job there than he did at Richmond Footy Club then, by the sound.
Well, I'm sorry, we don't have a. It's like if we get yourself, Billy Hutchison, and Mick Harrick, we're going to do a 7-part Richmond special or something for next year. We could be here for about 6 weeks. So
I think we should do that in next footy season.
So
we can all watch it as the Tigers get progressively worse through the season.
Get Dolph bet back there.
Yeah, we'll get Dolph bet back there. He can look into
Tigers, of course, the long suffering.
So
moving on.
In fact, there's an interesting point. Speaking of New South Wales stewards, they've got Mr. McDonald there. He seems to be in a spot of bother. He's been tangled up with the tennis player, and he seems to be.
Do you remember your Sydney
skating on?
Do you remember the day in
Astern
when it won?
It was last summer. It was his first start, obviously, and just the. I don't know. I'm innocent to proven guilty, all of that. But I remember watching the race at the time, and he celebrated like he'd won the Cox Plate or Melbourne Cup.
He was very excited, wasn't he? Going line there, I was like, hey!
And then mentioned something about how the fact that Astern had been hundreds in the gold and silver. I don't know how he knew that, but he did. And
well, it just seems very odd to me. I can't. The sheet, they could often release the press release saying, "Oh, we're going to stick by him and whatnot," but well, they didn't exactly stick with Frankie when he sort of ran into trouble, did they? So I think he's in a lot of trouble there. He's on a very good wicket there. I assume he'll lose his retainer, and I doubt whether he'll get back with him.
His Highness would frown upon this, wouldn't he?
Oh, even the hint of this, they just want absolutely nothing to do with it. So it's a bad situation, and
might be good for the gun.
Not
someone else's but he's the number 2 there at the moment.
It'd be tragic in a way if he did.
Yeah,
because I mean, he's a young guy, peak of his powers, super jockey, world at his feet, and to reckon something like this would be so.
Yeah, won't wreck it. I mean, look,
set it back.
Set it back. But see, you made a big comeback. It was 10 times worse.
How many times the pumper come back?
Yeah. So look, it'll be. As I said, not necessarily he's going to get 2 years if he's found guilty.
No, the thing is, if he's found guilty, and it's a mandatory 2 years.
Yeah.
So they've got a different rule up there than what it is down here. It's not like where Ollie can go in and do what he did. So
see what comes out in the wash.
So it's.
I'm shocked. You're not telling me that jockey's bet, really?
I mean, that's what someone said about the Anthony Gardner being warned off. He can't bet, but it's just.
Can I just say, 99% of it might be complete garbage, but even if 1% of it's true, there's a lot of betting that goes on, right, by various people, and you hear this stuff every week. This so-and-so's betting for this guy and this guy, and I drove down with him and I bet back this, and because usually the people that
going on for 100 years.
bet on behalf of jockeys can't keep their mouth shut.
Punters used to drive the jockeys to the races, all those legendary punters.
Are you telling me that maybe vets and farriers and that bet too, Potts?
Feed merchants?
Possibly. And then everyone's in it. It's all creating turnover.
It is.
You're never going to get rid of it, ever.
Nah.
But I think some of the people involved in it need to be very careful because the world has changed and people's views. I mean, that used to be just part of the rough and tumble of racing. It was totally expected.
That sort of scallywag behaviour was a bit of a joke.
Yeah.
Putting the paper in that.
Now it's called match fixing,
and that's the difference now.
Just the perception of it is totally different.
It just could be handled so much better, but we sort of make it a crime, and then people. It just all gets really messy, and it probably could be done in a way that it's not messy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Are you not on the side that's saying jockeys shouldn't be allowed to bet on their own horses? What are you?
The horse
do
they're
you sort of
riding,
get-
yeah.
The horse they're riding,
If
you
there was
sort
a
of.
disclosure there, I wouldn't hate that. I mean, I haven't really thought through it enough to really be sure that
That's
it's okay, to be
been-
honest.
yeah.
But I just think that it's to deny it happens is really silly, you know. And then because it gets sort of pushed underground, it's sort of things happen that shouldn't happen. Then, you know what I mean? If it was a bit more, if they, you know, I don't know, like there should be some sort of process where if they really. I don't know, I'm not quite sure what the answer is. I'm really not sure, but I just think that the way it's done,
Imagine
like
if
it's
that-
almost like again the
I would have started
administrator.
twos on, but if that had been public knowledge that Josie
of
Don
course,
was
yeah,
1,000
yeah,
on a stern at its first start,
Yeah.
we're all just doesn't matter. Just get
But the other thing with that is though, DK, is okay, he's had 1,000 on his first start, and then we find out that its next start he's had 200 on it.
well,
We've gone, well, hang a minute,
Yeah.
like what's going on here? Or he's had nothing on it,
Yeah.
Well, that's
three
right.
starts, and
That's
you've
a-
just gone,
it's a
well,
can of
it's
worms.
can of worms.
and that's where it's all sort of
I think
snowballs.
the really interesting part is that I'm not even sure who else was in the race, but it started that price. And that the rumour that
Gerald
that,
was
that
on-
team was, can I just
Yeah.
say that team was backing it? So
Yeah.
you know, he was on course backing it.
I think.
I won't even say the name, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. And people I know that were friends with him, they were all on it. And like, so there was a lot of fairly well-connected people that were backing that horse. And
It was a good.
There was a favourite in the race,
Yeah.
a figure or something.
Yeah, well, in a fast trialer, I think.
Fast.
Yeah, a really fast trialer. So it was a good race to bet in. If you're
oh,
going to do
wasn't
something
that,
like
Yeah.
that regimental gal?
Yes, I think it was. Yeah,
Well, the-
yeah. I'd have to look it up. But
Yeah,
I
the-
think
the-
it was.
the
It went up
progeny
very
of
short.
Regina-
Yeah,
yeah.
it went up very short.
The other news we've had this week, boys, is Greg Miles called time on his career on Monday. I've probably got my views probably different to a lot of what I've seen on social media. I think Greg's been a very good call. Like
Legend.
as a very small boy, I can remember Bill Collins calling right towards the end of his career, and then there was when we had the overlap with sort of Brian Martin and Greg calling. But for most of my punting career, Greg's been the caller, and in one way, I thought he should have gone out probably 2 years ago. I thought the carnival before the one we've just completed, he was right off, but he did come back and he
Yeah,
had a
cool.
very good spin. Yeah,
I think even had the extra year just to,
yeah,
you know,
and
just to
he's,
make that
Smooth that over.
smooth that over.
and break the record. So he's got the two things there. Is like, and we know now that unless they put one of these, and that's what we'll discuss in a minute, who could possibly be replacing him, unless they put one of these kids in there and leave them there now to break that 36 Melbourne Cups, you're going to need to be put in there as a young man.
He was about 22 when he called his
Yeah.
first one, I think, wasn't he? Yeah. So.
Yeah,
It's just
so
something about these. I mean, it's just. I mean, that's why I hate people sticking the boots in the race
Yeah,
calls.
yeah.
Full stop, where they make blues or whatever. Because as a kid, I grew up. You know, I used to go to Mooney Gilson, Frank O'Brien.
Yeah.
Just those, and you hear it now with those old Cox Plate replays.
Yeah.
Bill Collins,
Yeah.
and then Greg, and even. I mean, the Australian race callers. We've got the best callers in the world. We've got the Japanese caller, the Hong Kong caller, Terry Spargo. How good's he?
yeah, and we've got Matty Jones over in Singapore.
Yeah.
Berry in America.
Yeah.
So
We've got,
it's just, and they're just. I mean, they're just part of our fabric. It's
Yeah.
just.
It's a really tough job, and like
It is
in
really-
Australia, we don't make it easy for them. The amount of times you see a race with two horses that the pronunciation of the horse is almost identical.
Yeah.
You just think, oh, you'd be a race caller here, you know. Like this is.
Yeah.
There
Well,
what
was
about-
one at Sandown, I remember that Greg got back to front, but like, you almost thinking it would have been a miracle if he didn't get it wrong, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because the horses were so. I can't remember.
Well,
it was a filly.
Yeah,
right?
yesterday, just poor old Terry Bowles, just doing the
Yeah.
Kilmore replays last night, and he had strategic journey sitting outside artistic design. And he's sort of going, no, strategic design. Well, it was a million. If he didn't stuff it up, I would have been shocked.
Yeah.
You know?
they don't help. They don't help them, do they? Like we've come to the biggest race of the year. Godolphin's got 5 of them.
Oh,
Lloyd's
yeah.
got 4,
That wasn't-
and they've got 9 runners all with different caps. I mean,
That's
it's
serious.
And it's
And the problem is, like when we were younger, or me, 'cause I should be, you blokes are all spring chickens compared to me. I'm 48, I think.
Just soft 7 on
Like
behind.
when I
Yeah,
first started, it was all radio. Unless you went to the races,
Yeah.
it was radio.
Oh, yeah.
Which was then the caller was your only avenue. Like it meant everything. So for me, growing up, sitting it was either Johnny Tapp or Ian Craig.
Yeah, Ian Craig.
Really,
Let's be
it's like,
honest.
but you guys are probably more been in the thing where you're listening to the caller, but you're watching it on TV as well. So the caller sort of just really helping you identify where your horse is
Yeah.
in the field. And then you've got the visual aid as well.
Yeah.
So their mistakes are their mistakes are more pronounced now because people are watching the vision
as well.
as well.
Yeah, very true.
Whereas,
Yeah,
you
very
know,
true.
like,
It's we're blessed in this country, not just with race callers, but with sports callers in general.
Bruce.
Yeah, like there's been so many.
Dennis Cometti just
Yeah,
retired as well.
And
Jack Styron, what a legend. I used to grow up with him at Hanging Rock and Gunbower.
there's,
You know?
Jack was very entertaining. He called a lot of picnic races when I was growing up there. and he was very entertaining, but if you had the money on, it was a bit tricky. But I remember going to Deniliquin picnics one day. There was a 2-horse race, one was grey, and he got them mixed up. But Jack, to his credit, he's been hanging on. He still goes to the races every Saturday, and he's finally got his chance.
He's a legend, Jack.
So I think that's the next thing that we've got to sort of go through. And apparently there's a panel going to be put together to come up with who's going to be the new caller.
I was saying what they're going off Twitter, and that he's down here anyway. Geez, Matty Hill will be right in the market.
He's
heard him apparently on radio.
I really think they are.
Yeah, because
What did he say?
He said, "I'll be silly not to throw my hat in the ring."
Oh, really?
okay.
Because
there you
it's just
go.
such a prestige, the number one caller.
Yeah,
He knows how.
I was thinking that because he's got a chance with footy that
Yeah,
wanted
I
to
think
go back to
he
racing.
should override it. Yeah.
Right, okay.
And Steve had him on in radio in Adelaide, Brisbane, I think.
Oh, okay.
He said,
That's good.
he's-
That sort of indicates that he's been missing racing.
Yeah, that little bit of harness he's been doing.
Yeah, he's just been
And he just
calling
sounds
the
like
Trotsky
a Woodsy sound. He's
Yeah.
just got the best voice.
Yeah,
and-
he's
Well,
very
and the
good.
other one who's sitting on the sidelines, but and as punters, is someone who we're firmly behind. Is the great Redfern Express, is Mark Sheen.
Oh.
Like, we'd love to see him. Like, the fact that he's sitting on the sideline now is a complete tragedy.
It is.
He'd be perfect for it.
Well, he was here.
Well, I've done Sydney racing for
Yeah.
over 10 years, and easily my favourite caller in Australia. Bit of bias there because I do concentrate on Sydney, but he's a fantastic caller.
So
And-
I think that the punter's friend when you're heavily invested in a race and you're seriously committed to a race, you're betting on it. That there's a point in the home straight where something's either home or it goes back to another race, and there's something in their inflection that alerts you to the fact that there's another opportunity here or another danger or whatever. And he's got that better than anyone, I think.
And he's total 360 view of the race too.
Yeah.
He's a good yard man, so he can tell you how they
Yes.
look and compared to how they looked last time. He's called all the trials, or back then he called all the trials. He knows all their racing patterns. You know, if something's not where it should be,
He'll know.
So just had the total.
He had the
perspective.
tone then.
That inflection, like when you sort of thought the race was over, but then all of a sudden he highlight one thing, you think, oh, hang on a minute, it's not over.
And
But wouldn't it be amazing if we got Mark Sheen down here and they actually called the jump outs?
At
Cranbourne!
One thing at a time.
Now you just completely through. So
I'm getting a bit excited there.
Your plate shifted.
And another bloke that sort of I think's been groomed for it's Brendan Delaney, who's also a very good young caller who they've brought through. But Greg did mention, I heard him in an interview, he said that he's going to help start a scholarship, which they haven't sort of had for a while. And there's some good young boys that need coming through. There's
Benny Sprouls.
Benny Sproul. We've got
a young kid.
Trav Noonan, friend of the show. We've got
the little kid, Dane Barrett.
Dane Barrett. You've got him. Ed Sadler's, I think he's still over in.
He's in doing Hong Kong.
Yeah, he's either in Hong Kong or Singapore or something.
Who's that?
Ed Sadler.
Maybe in his early 20s.
Yeah, he went to Singapore for a while.
Yeah.
He's in Hong Kong.
So there's some good young talent out there that they can bring through. Like, we've got an amazing depth place like Matty Jackson. He called the Melbourne Cup there on Friday night. He does a really good job. We've got a good friend Rick up there in Bendigo. He does a decent job. So there's and TV who speaks to me at the races all the time. Like, there's plenty of good callers around. Like, we're very lucky to have the depth that we do
Rob
here.
Tester, is he still around? Is he? Is he? Rob Tester.
Roddy Horswell.
I actually went to the Victoria Bookmakers Association dinner last night, and the Hawk was actually there, and he sat on the table behind me. So
How was the dinner, Johnny? It was good?
Oh, it was full of optimism. I thought there was a weight going to break out at some stage. So it was. I don't think they all didn't have the carnivals I think they were going to have. So the mood was a little bit down, and I think I brought the average age down a fair bit with the table that I was sitting on. So
There's two functions yesterday in racing. There was the VBA one that Jumpy attended. Where was that at Jumpy?
that was at the RACV club. And the racing riders one was on.
And then they had the one. I think they were the Emerald, weren't they? Well,
Yeah.
Footage was on the Emerald. So I think the moods of the two different joints would have been slightly different.
There was a few that did both.
Oh,
I
right.
spoke to a couple that I thought I had a running head start because it was hot yesterday, so I had to wet me whistle at the turf bar on the way to the RACV club. And I've come out of there after about 4 pints of blonde, and I walked out of there, and there was a few boys that had a running head start, and I said, well, Jesus, if I've got to try and keep up with you blokes, I said, you might have peaked on your run already, boys.
They're the best ones, the double letters.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, and with the caller there. And yes, I've been out of Cranbourne. I've mentioned that we need to get the jump outs listed, but we'll just keep working away on some of those other issues. So
We've got sidetracked. Well, aren't we going to go back to some of the sports bet stuff? Just ask Mark about just to get
Well,
because
we got Mark's recently, very recently, as of last week, finished in a betting shop, so it's more like punter behaviour and things like that, I suppose, right?
One of the things that surprised me of late, and it is a recent sort of trend, is the information you'll see on an app or on a website of a bookmaker really does drive turnover to those horses that are tipped. For instance, if you've got a set of tips there, I don't know, I can only speak for one agency, but I'm sure it'd be similar elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because they all do it these days. They've got a set of tips from somewhere.
And it's also one of the things they market too. Like I know the Ladbrokes ad goes, oh, well, you turn your phone on your side, and then you've got their thing where it's got the speed ratings and the maps and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, all that. But you know, just when people are betting, you know, when they're watching the next to go in the pub or at home or wherever, and they're making a decision quickly, and that's there for them, it just skews turnover massively towards those runners. As do things like what Tony Brattle's tipping on Sky Channel when they're going in the debates. Oh, it is. Yeah, I mean, it's great for overall turnover, but it totally skews the book.
So on in a late race on the city of Melbourne.
Yeah.
So how long before they jump did they put up Tony Brattle's?
It's always in about the last 2 minutes, I think. Yeah.
And that's feeding into the pubs and stuff on Sky One, I suppose.
Well, it's often, on Sky One, it's up in the little left-hand corner box.
Yeah.
You know,
and what about the market mover thing? Is that only on Sky 2? Or do they put that on Sky?
I think it's on. I don't think it's on that late.
Right.
So it doesn't seem to have as much impact.
But whoever's top pick in best bets has.
Well, it's Sportsbet was the best bets tips, but it's different at every agency. But yeah, again, I can't speak for them. But if it's anything like what was it Sportsbet, it'd be.
So I remember Steve Fletcher saying in an interview on the website that it might be a Group 1 race on the day, but come to the last race, if the well-back thing or something they latch onto, it just dictates. It's the biggest hole, the biggest.
And yeah, it used to be just the favourite. I mean, you remember this from your days, and you know when we were basically working in an interstate licence. So it just went, you know, one of the four main meetings on a Saturday. And if it was Brisbane was often the last, you know, and in the summer as well, you know, the last favourite in Brisbane could have been your day a lot of the time.
And I imagine back in the day it was PJ Harvey. And then in later times we have W Pike.
Oh yeah, W Pike.
And I think if they ride a few late winners around the 6 o'clock mark.
That doesn't help, and multis, you know, if he rides 2 or 3, it's just batting down the hatches.
And I suppose that's one thing that really has changed in the industry over from the time when you got involved, is the fact that how big a part multis play in the business now.
Massive. When I was growing up, a multi was the daily double. You know,
yeah.
All of us didn't really occur to you that much. Now they're a huge part of the landscape. And, you know, cross-sport ones, you know, the Friday night footy favourite did their good thing at the race on Saturday or whatever, you know.
And so the last 2 weeks we've had Sandown and Ballarat, 10 race cards both. So the race 10 at Sandown compared to Ballarat, would it have been a massive difference in hold because it was Ballarat, or?
I dare say I wasn't there. I'd been shown the door, so I can't actually tell you what happened at Ballarat. And generally speaking, your Flemington and Caulfield will be higher holds than Moonee Valley or Sandown, and they higher than Ballarat.
Right. Well, so what you'd expect.
And same in Sydney, Rosehill and Randwick are higher than Canterbury, even if it's Saturday.
Yeah. So it's just
the run-of-the-mill punters like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, that's the reports from. Well, I worked at Ballarat, and it was it'd be in the top 4 or 5 meetings that I worked during the spring. It was really busy. Well, we did 1,400 tickets. Like, that's really busy.
In the ring?
Yeah, and we would have held at least double what we held at Sandown.
Wow.
Right.
So it was a really busy meeting. There were tons of people there. The weather was good.
Find that joint. I mean, through Lockie Mackenzie and whatever they're doing. I know they're doing the big trading centre and the Macamani development, the uphill track and Weird Town and everything, but they're really aggressively going forward that race.
And also plenty of cash in Ballarat Derby.
There was, but there was a couple of things that they did let the team down. He did have to run out by 2 or 3 power leads to hook up some power to some outlawed bookies, DK. I've turned up there and gone to set everything up, and there's nothing to plug into. Someone better go and get a 40.
The bloke out on the lawn that's dragged his own board into the
great friend of the show and a Ballarat native, Barry Baker. He was out there in the sun. And it got a bit warm for him, so he just dragged the whole setup back underneath the cover there at Ballarat. So it was a good meeting up there, and that officially winds up the spring now. So it's back to sort of.
What'd you say? What happened to when'd you go to Donald?
There's been some there's been some funny events in the last couple of weeks. DK actually jinxed me. He said I said I was going to Dunkeld. He said he went to Dunkeld. Went through. I went to Dunkeld. It was 8 degrees and I left me coat at home. So that was good. But at least to the club's credit, they're a volunteer club. If they had weather there, that'd be one of the biggest meetings you'd ever go to, I reckon. But they've managed to put up a tin shed over the betting ring. So that was good. And then followed it up with off to Donald Cup Day on the Sunday. And to say the wind was strong there was an understatement, and I knew that when the jumping castle was upside down 2 paddocks away. Luckily, no kids had arrived there at that stage. It was just, there was one bloke with a rope, and he had no hope, so he just let go on the rope. And it was just, I'm not going down with this ship. I don't get paid enough for this. So he's let that fly away, and then it was sort of outside fence and.
So how'd the jumping castle go later in the day with the patrons once they had a skinful? Were they?
No, that was it. He packed it up after that. He took the van out there and packed it up and put it away.
Well,
and said,
probably
be
saved him.
for that.
He probably would have been gone if he had a.
And an even more remarkable sight was seeing Kate Walters ride 2 winners there, 5%.
5% was you not there?
So that sort of leads us to our new little segment, Positive Bad Beat Corner. So I've had 1 or 2 in the last couple of weeks. I had a brilliant one it was in a college football game. It was Auburn. I needed over 52.5. The quarterback's thrown the pass, it's been caught by the receiver. He's not quite showboating, but he's heading towards the line, gets to the 4-yard line, pops his hamstring, falls to the ground, and is tackled on the 4-yard line. They've got 3 minutes to punch the ball over the line.
Oh, nice.
And if I was on the unders, do you reckon he blows his hamstring out? And then
you've come up one score short, Juppy.
1 score short, as usual.
Blown hamstring.
That's it. And then we had another interesting tale while we were here last week, didn't we, Potts?
Yeah, well, I had last Monday off. I didn't watch any of the races from Wangaratta. And I come home in the afternoon after having lunch and started having a look at sale the next day and doing a bit of sanding and stuff. And there's only one race that sale I was interested in, and the horse I was really interested in was Senior Alf. So anyway, I thought, yeah, I'll definitely be back at that horse. I'll get up in the morning and get scratched. I walk in the pub here, and the replays are on here for Wangaratta the day before, and there's James Early punching one aim off the replay. So there's only
So you're in one then, one at Wangaratta.
Senior Alf. I took $14 yesterday at Wangaratta. It was a much easier race than the race at Sale.
And shitty too. Third after all.
$1 short and a day late.
So, what's this? Where's this thing come from? What do you mean?
So that's how my week started. And
Another one Saturday. Race 1 or race 2 Seymour.
Well, I've got a question before you jump into it. How did the new track go there, DK? I didn't see too many.
Terrific. It's beautiful.
So if they don't knock it around, it'd be
we
good.
like the old track was a great betting track because it was leaderish.
Yeah.
But this was beautiful cam. I mean, it looks I saw the trials there. I did the trials there about a month ago, and it looked magnificent then.
So as long as they don't knock it around, probably overuse it like they've done at Pakenham, where it was out.
Race once a month or something.
And I think they've got 10 meetings for the season or something, so that'll be perfect for it. So
anyway, race 2. I think I found a first start on Midnight Ruby, which had trialled really well, and the favourite they put up was drawn to be in the Brasco, and so $8 to $4.40 or something beautiful on this, and anyway, jumps in and lets the thing half card it. And I don't know whenever has been leading on the roll, getting half carded in a slow pace, being a good spot.
Well, that's the Gary Clark rule.
So I was getting half carded by the 100 to 1 chance.
Yeah, fuck with Bill. Yeah.
And anyway, they just stayed in this order all the way around the band. It gradually picked it up, dived on the line, missed. SP $240 to win it. Just added. I told the story last time I was on the show.
Not another one.
That's all.
Another one.
That is variance at its absolute finest.
It's key. Thanks.
Jesus, I can't believe that.
Bad beat corner. Anything recommend me?
What's my job? Does it count?
Hey, well, if that's the case, that's the ultimate bad beat.
From what I understand, all the blokes that have left IS, now Sportsbet, have got more out of them in their post-Sportsbet career. So I believe you're going to go out and do a little bit of work on your own.
That's the plan, yes. Long may it continue.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm all for it.
Hopefully have back on the show too, right?
Yeah.
Anytime.
You've been a great guest, mate. We'd love to have you back again, for sure.
Thanks, Rat.
Guys, enjoy it.
Thanks, DK.
Yeah, good on you boys.
All right,
Good to see you again. See you in a couple of weeks.
We'll be back at this time next week and with more nonsense to talk about, I suppose, and just more infuriation from the industry.
I can also, before we go, I've started doing a series with Matt and Jake, just a bit of working right through the whole process of form assessment and pricing and videos, the whole box and dice. So
Podcast or something, isn't it?
Podcast, yeah. The first one's gone up today, and there'll be
I think I saw
one
a
each
tweet,
week for the next month or so.
They tweeted it out, I think, yeah.
That also reminds me, Potts, there's one other thing that this will affect just about everyone, I think, because I think there's not too many punters that take this in any. If you take it in any way, shape or form seriously, everyone uses Betfair. Betfair's got a new interface that's about to be launched, Betfair Plus. Well done to Matty Clark and Marco and all those boys in at Betfair. I had a good look through it this morning. It looks a heap better. It's a vast improvement, and I think it's going to make a big difference. So if you are a regular Betfair user and you do use the Betfair interface, take a little bit of time to set it up how you want it.
Because they're going to change it completely over.
Yeah.
So it's not like down around the two sides.
It's just going over.
They're going to change it over. So
and you can. The thing that I love the most is that you can adjust your refresh rate and whatnot, so you can see the real time moves there. It's a big improvement. So well done to the boys. They've listened to the customers, which, let's face it, there's plenty of companies that don't do that. But well done to the boys there.
Does that mean I never have to use that new site ever again?
Well.
That part of it?
It's an improvement
on
on
that interface, I should say.
Yeah, you won't be using that, Pods.
All right.
All right,
I've
punters.
been using the old site for it.
Everybody, the amount of blokes that I know that are using the old site there's unquantifiable, especially the bookies. So that'll do us for this week, punters. We'll see you next. Good luck.